Wake your asses up. It's your favorite TIO Al Cintron, along with his friends, Anthony Gallo to my left and Pete Kennedy to my right. What's up, fellas?
Let's just not ignore the fact that you mixed your left and your right up.
No, my left.
No, it's the screen mirror. You got the camera mirrored. It's gonna mess you up.
Yeah. So listen, first episode. This is my left, bro. I know this because I got hit by a car, broke my collarbone when I was 6. All right, I'll never forget that. So left, right, to my left, but to your whatever. You know what I'm doing here. How's it going, fellas?
Awesome, dude. I'm pumped up.
Yeah, it's been a minute coming. Not too long. We've been talking about it. Now we're making it happen. I'm hyped to be here.
Very excited.
All right, well, good to have you guys. The first episode, so bear with us. There'll be some kinks, there'll be some errors, but there'll be plenty of laughs and plenty of fucking curses. So let's get right to it. The first topic, since all of us are Met fans, is Pete Alonso and his stupidity with this contract. I'm sick of talking about it. I'm sure you guys are sick of talking about it. It came out today that he's looking for 6 years. Motherfucker had a 7-year deal on the table for 158. He turned it down. I don't feel bad one bit. What do you guys think? I'll start with you, Gallo, first.
I think like he played himself, and I got to be honest. I like Pete. I don't love Pete. Like I'm saying this as a Met fan that wants him back, but you know what? Like I think they could build just as good as a team if he's not here. I want him back, but I'm not gonna lose my mind if he's not here. And that's whatever the contract is. Like they offered him a better contract, he turned it down. They offered him still the best contract, reported at least. He turned it down. And at some point, dude, like. You did this to yourself. You fired your agent, and Boris is trying to make up for all the losses outside of Snell and Soto. So that's where I'm at with Pete right now. And I don't want to sound like a Pete hater, which I've been accused of, but that's where I'm at with the guy.
Wait, hold on. They accused you of being a Pete hater. I agree with you, bro. Like you had 7 for 158 in the table. I've been saying it from the jump. You're not getting 200 million. If you think you're getting 200 million, you got to stay off the crack rock. Now he was offered 3 for 90, still high AAV, higher than Freeman, higher than Olsen, higher than whatever, higher than Vladdy, who just got his arbitration at 28 million. Future Met, by the way, which I've been saying for about a month now. The little birdie told me, but I was right about Soto. I'll be right about this one. But Pete, how do you feel about it?
It's simple, man. You live by the Boris, you die by the Boris. You can't argue what he's done for his top tier clients. It's clear that his top dogs eat big and they eat as much as they want. But these middling guys that he's trying to sell us on as top dogs, we're not dumb. And so the teams aren't dumb either. It's very simple. Boris fumbled this bag. It might end up being the biggest blessing for the Mets because now the Mets are, like Gallo said, they're looking at him like, yo, you played yourself. This could have been easier and better, and you could have gotten more money, but here we are. You wanted to play hardball. Now we're playing hardball, and you're realizing it ain't all pretty out there. It ain't greener on the other side for you, Pete Alonso. And as much as us Mets fans hold on to him and see him as this guy who could be in the record books and should be in the record books, all-time Met level stuff, if he ends up going somewhere else at a price that we're not happy with, we're all going to collectively go, damn, that sucks, but we're fine. Yeah. So it's a win-win now for the Mets where we get him at the good price or we lose him at a price where we go, we clearly didn't want that and we got other options moving forward.
See, to me, I think, listen, if I don't care about the home run records, I don't care about the homegrown stuff. I haven't seen a championship since 1986. You fellas haven't seen a Met championship, correct?
No.
All right.
Nah.
You've seen him in the World Series, but losses. You've gone through more bad than I have, and I've gone through a lot of bad with this team. But to me, it's like, listen, dude, you say you want to be a Met. You say you want to be a Met, and now you sound like a greedy fuck. So you had the deals on the table, you declined them. Boris works for you, bro. If you want to be a Met, tell him, listen, let's just get this done. If it's 3 for 90, take it. I'll take the opt-out after the first. I'll take an opt-out after the second. I'll bet on myself. But at the end of the day, I'm good either way. Pete stays or Pete goes. I've had it with this.
I'm in the same boat. And honestly, if they even went to 4-120, I'm fine with that. I think Pete's nervous about betting on himself again. Like, I don't want to call him unclutch like I have in the past. He clearly gets tense in moments or stretches. And I think that played into part of this negotiation is I think he wants to feel secure. I don't think he wants to have to opt out and feel like he's owed more money. And I want him back, but I'm not going to sit here and wait the entire offseason for him to wait for someone to jack the price up, which they're not going to.
Nope.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions with like Aaron Rodgers and stuff where people are like, oh, this is like getting with the girl from high school, but now she's 40 with 3 kids. Like this is the same concept as that. It's like now Pete Alonso, like you're the girl we wanted. We were ready to commit to you, but you were playing with us, and now we're not playing the game. That's it. Like we're not playing the game. Do you want to be here or not? And there has to be a sense of FOMO in Pete Alonso's actual mind. What Boris and him together are actually putting out there is different. But I think there's going to be a time where push comes to shove. He's going to look around and say, I'm about to leave Lindor and Nimmo and Juan Soto and Diaz and what we're building here now after I lived through crap and some good times. And now I'm just going to bounce now. I don't see it happening in the long run, and the Mets are going to end up winners for it.
See, to me, it's if you're not happy, if you want the money, Pete, good luck in Colorado. Ask Chris Bryant how that's worked out. Now, what's the plan B? And I hate because we've heard about plan B with the Yankees. I've had it, but it is the thing. Your plan B, mine would be, and I've said it from the jump. If you want to go young, but invest in the bullpen. Get a Tanner Scott. Invest in the bullpen. Mauricio can play third. I've said it for a while. Beatty sucks. I know they're going to give him another opportunity. I really don't care. Lindor short, Acuna second. Pay some of McNeil's money. See you later. Go get another arm in the bullpen. Vientos at first, Alvarez at catcher, and I'm ready to roll.
I'm cool with all of that. I mean, honestly, I don't look at it as really a plan B because they brought in Soto. Like, I think that they will add a bat, and I'd rather see them focus more on the bullpen, even right now with Pete not signed, and then let Pete work it out. And I mean, Luis Ariz seems to be available. Like you could go that route. I love you mentioning Mauricio because I think we've all forgotten about him. And I see him being a legitimate player on this team. And you know how I feel about McNeil, so I love the Acuna's thought. I'd rather them, if they're going to go, let's say Pete's out of the equation. I'd rather them spend big in the bullpen, maybe get another solid rotation arm, like a 3, 4, 5 starter, and bring in fundamentally sound players, an Arise or anyone, I don't know off the top of my head, guys that are available, and fill the rest of the lineup out with young players. They were 7th in offense last year and did nothing for 2 months, and that's with Pete there. And if you look at Soto as an upgrade to Pete, they bring Pete back, that's gravy, but I'm not really worried about the offense like I am the pitching staff.
The other part of the question now is with the Vlad Jr. stuff that people love to bring up, which I love the part of the conversation because he's incredible. He's better than Pete Alonso. However, it doesn't seem likely for that to happen right here, right now. So some Mets fans are like, oh, but we're win now. We have to win right. We signed Juan Soto forever. We have him until I'm going to be full gray. Like we don't.
Hey.
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it over here. I'm just saying, like, we have Soto locked in. Yes, we do want to, and in a way have to win right now. But that plan of possibly grabbing a Vlad Jr. in 1 year from now shouldn't be looked at as like some crazy futuristic idea. It's not that far ahead. They can still compete at a very high level with more of that fill-in, plug-and-play type guy this year.
I wanted to add too, not that I like to quote the guy, but he made a good point. Zach Scott, the former GM of the Mets, was on SNY. And he was like, I wouldn't be shocked if Stearns views it as he doesn't need a perfect roster on opening day. And for me, I look at guys across the league that play for bad teams. And the one that always pops up in my head, he's injury prone, but he's a 5-tool guy, Luis Roberts, Lou Bob. Like, that's a guy at some point who you could go make a move for. So if they lose out on Pete and they make these plan B moves, you could still strengthen the lineup with a guy that you not only could keep, he's young, but he's also a better all-around player. I'm not saying that's like an example of a guy. He's a guy I'd love to get, dream guy. But there's going to be people out there at the deadline, and they're going to have assets to move.
See, you're high on Louis Robert. I'm not. But at the deadline, if it's for a couple of months, I'm all for it. People seem to forget. First of all, opening day is not tomorrow. So when the callers call in the fan, I know I've hosted, Pete, you've produced and stuff. They call thinking opening day is tomorrow. It's not. We got a whole ways to go. You know, Vladdy Jr. can still get traded. Just because he got the arbitration number doesn't mean he can't get traded. And guess what? If the Blue Jays are in 4th place come July, hello, Vladdy Jr., Queens, he's coming regardless. I'm telling you right now, whether it happens now, whether it happens at the deadline, or whether it happens in the offseason, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a New York Met. Now, on to the second topic, the Jets coaching search. They seem to be interviewing everyone. And I got breaking news that they even sent invitation to Joy Taylor. So maybe she's going to be the Jets' new coach. We'll see how that works out. But, fellas, there's a list of candidates longer than a CVS receipt. The top of the Jet list, if you're a Jet fan, realistically, who should be the number one target for the Jets?
Can I tell you the bottom of the list first?
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
I'm sick and tired of Rex Ryan and recycled crusty coaches who haven't done nothing in the league in years. I'm sick of it. And like New York fans, we pride ourselves. We are the smartest fans in the country. Knicks fans are the most ball knowers of ball knowers. Giants and Jets fans, we know sometimes we do not know. And Rex Ryan is not the answer. Don't grab on to yesteryear that wasn't even as successful as you remember it at the end. Like, there's a reason he wasn't the coach forever, right? Like Gruden, same concept too. There's a reason he hasn't coached, some of which have nothing to do with football, but there's reasons he's not coaching. So like this yesteryear grab and go type of situation with the Rex Ryans of the world, I am sick of that nonsense.
Yeah, I am sick of hearing that. Rex Ryan has turned into Bill Cowher or Wally Backman or Jeff Van Gundy. These coaches, we're all fan listeners and we work there now that you just hear constantly. And Belichick is now one of those guys. The Costco guy, I would take as coach over Rex Ryan. And you know what?
Bring back the boom.
Yeah. A hot take. I actually think the Jets are going to luck out by Vrabel not taking the job. I think he is a good coach. He is not this coach that everyone makes him out to be. He had a generational player, a guy who's arguably the best running back we might have ever seen when he was on. Derrick Henry carried them. Everyone's like, oh, he went to the AFC title game with Ryan Tannehill. And it's like, well, no, he went to the AFC title game with an elite defense and Derrick Henry. And they were good before he got there. Like, for example, where have we heard a coordinator or coach getting someone to an AFC title game and it blew up in their face? Oh, Nathaniel Hackett, who everyone talks about what he did with Blake Bortles. You really crunch the numbers. He didn't really do anything. So I think they are lucking out with that. And I think the guys to go after is an Aaron Glenn, a Ben Johnson, and I like the other, even a Steve Spagnuolo to me would be a better move than a Rex. And when it comes down to it, like Steve Spagnuolo and Vrabel had the success is really differing by the roster they were given when they took the job. So this thought that they were going to get Vrabel and he was going to magically fix everything is ridiculous.
See, I mentioned that I was scoffed at for this, but I mentioned that Mike Vrabel on my show, one of my shows, that Vrabel's using the Jets for the Pat job. This is before Mayo was fired. And now look what's come to fruition. It's you honestly think that Robert Kraft was going to let Mike Vrabel coach in the division against a team, against an organization he despises? Are you nuts? So Vrabel, smart by him. He's going to get whatever I think he interviewed today. I think that happened. It happened today. We'll see what happens. He'll be the Pat coach by the end of the week. And for the Jets, to me, Aaron Glenn would be a good hire because he's came from the organization. The fan base loved him. I also mentioned, I know you guys might not like this, but a guy who's dealt with an owner who sucked ass even worse than Woody Johnson and was a gentleman about it, and the players respecting it was Ron Rivera. You get a young assistant offensive coordinator, a young offensive coordinator, or a young defensive coordinator. Let Ron coach the team for a couple years. Let him build them up, and then have the coordinator step in because Ron's not going to do it forever. You need to change this culture. You need to change this organization. You need to clean up this organization. And the coach, Ron Rivera, had to stand up for all the bullshit Dan Snyder did. I should know as a fan, it was bullshit. And he still took the team to the playoffs. Yeah, the bullshit owners. So, and he won Coach of the Year. Twice, and he's been to the Super Bowl, and he's one game under 500. I think if Ron Rivera get the right offensive coordinator with him, do not bring Jack Del Rio with you. Please don't make that mistake again. Get a defensive coordinator and build the organization up, change the culture, and I think the Jets will be fine. Everybody wants to shoot for these top-notch coaches. I got newsflash. No top candidate, no elite coach does not want to come here. End of story.
Yeah, I don't even like bringing up Ben Johnson because why in the hell would he pick the New York Jets, right? The Jets don't have the right to pick Ben Johnson. He'd have to pick them. Yeah. They're not getting him. Aaron Glenn, maybe you could make the argument for it because he has some ties to the organization, whatever. He's not as hot of a candidate as Ben Johnson. But quickly on the Ron Rivera front, if I were a Jet fan, I probably wouldn't feel a ton of inspiration by that hire because my question would be, what is the plan? If you hire a Ron Rivera, to me, I know you kind of said let him build it up and then he could hand off the reins. But is Woody Johnson down for that? Like, is Woody Johnson about to come out with a John Mara mandate in the next few weeks, saying that it's time to win now? Like, what's the decision on this? Are you trying to maintain all the talent you have on that roster, build on it, and win next
All
year?
that talent, a lot of talent.
They got talent. So that's the question, right? Quote unquote. They do have names at least, right? They got names.
They do.
And it comes down to not what we think the talent is. What does the organization think that they have? And also who are they going to bring in as GM? I'm also interested in like a Joe Brady, right? Like,
yeah,
I mentioned him as well. Yeah.
It's a guy who doesn't have head coaching experience like that, but you have to kind of make a decision. Are you going to go for a guy who's done it before to hold you over, or are you going to take a swing where you're probably in a rebuild in 2 years, but you might be there anyway? So might as well take the swing. I don't love the safe option for a team that doesn't seem to have the proven, on-field talent right now.
Well, I think will be with the quarterback. It all depends who the quarterback is. If it's Aaron Rodgers, you're going to want a vet manager. You're going to coach. That's what you're going to want. A first-time coach is going to chew him up and spit him out. If Aaron Rodgers is not back, which should be the case, I think you rip this Band-Aid off, start over. I like Jordan Travis. I think he should get a fair shot in training camp. The kid killed it at Florida State until the injury happened. I like him. I thought he was a great pick in the 5th round, a sneak stash pick. And then you have another quarterback come in, whether it's Tyrod Taylor, who's still on the contract, or you get one in this draft. If you feel comfortable doing that, let them all compete and go from there.
Yeah, I one to your Ron Rivera point. I don't know if the Jets should hire him, but everyone forgets they went to the Super Bowl, and I remember this because they played the Broncos. Cam Newton got knocked out of a game by a bunch of late hits, and they never recovered from that. So, like, he never got that excuse that the MVP of the league got hurt, like some people do. And the other thing is, Brian Flores feels like a safe hire, and I think it's a smart hire.
Love it.
Because if they go the route you guys are saying, or like either way, whether it's Rodgers comes back and they run it back, or they keep the core and go with a different quarterback, or blow it up, all three of those options he can handle, in my opinion. I thought he was too hard on Tua for Tua. I don't think he was too hard on his players. Like, I don't think he was like the players in Minnesota.
Their defense played hard in Miami with Flores.
Awesome. And they did. They've played one more playoff game than when he was there now. And we all love Mike McDaniels, who I do think is a good coach. I think Flores is fine. I think everyone wants a hard-nosed coach. The Jets probably need that. Saleh was, I think, underrated, but he clearly was a player's coach.
The players loved him.
Yes. Flores, the players love him, but he's not a player's coach. So I think that would help them too.
I think Flores go ahead.
No, the thing with the Flores thing, I read the tweet on my last show that I received about that. Any Flores news, they said, no, he's not coming. He doesn't want to come here. Now, he'll probably take the interview. I know they requested to interview him, so he'd be stupid not to take the interview. But I don't think he's coming here. From what I was told, he's not coming here. Same thing with Vrabel. I mentioned that there's no way he's coming. He's using the Jets to get the patch job. I know we talked about Ron Rivera. The Jet fans want to make a splash. It's not about splash. It's about the right fit. I don't care if the guy gives you nothing in the press conferences, but the team wins. See, Jet fans want the headlines and the splashes. That's won you nothing since 1969. Jack shit. So get the right fit. It's not about the splash hire. It's the right fit.
Yeah, I agree. And I see it with my friends. I see what guys I work at the station or just read online. They're so afraid of hiring a guy that they don't know. Not necessarily somebody that the players or like the media doesn't know, but a guy that they don't know, that they're resorting to Rex Ryan and Mike Vrabel. I've heard Pete Carroll's lead. I heard John Gruden, who had one good year playing and won a Super Bowl playing against the team he just coached. He's not that good of a coach. And outside of winning one game over Pat Mahomes with the Raiders the second time, he did nothing. So I think Jet fans need to. It's tough to trust an owner. We went through this as Met fans. None of us are Jet fans. We went through it with the Wilpons. It's tough to trust them, but you kind of have to just trust that they're going to bring in someone, if you don't know who they are, that can
probably
lead
a good
team.
thing.
Yeah. They listened to Peyton Manning and they hired Adam Gase. So who do you want them to listen to? Like,
yeah, I have two things quick because I think it's really interesting with a guy like Flores and Spagnuolo, guys who were head coaches and then went back to being defensive coordinators. Obviously, Spags for much longer of time. People really love to harp on the idea that if you failed as a head coach once, like you can't head coach again. I think Flores is the perfect candidate of a guy who maybe got humbled a little bit. All right, maybe I pushed the wrong buttons in Miami and I got to learn. And he could still coach the hell out of a defense. That's obvious, right? So he's the perfect candidate. And because Spags sucked with the Rams, 10 years ago? He can't head coach now. He's been one of the best DCs in the league forever.
Mm-hmm.
He probably has matured as a coach and more of the managerial stuff that he needs to get inside with. But one quick thing, and I'm not going to take credit for it because my buddy Mike Dino brought it up on my show earlier this week. And I'm glad that Gallo's here for it because his team is the test case for it. All right.
You want to plug your show real quick? Plug it, Pete. Plug it.
So, sure. Subway Sports Talk. Shout out. Subway Sports Talk, Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Appreciate you, Al, as always. But my boy Mike said this, and I was like, at first I thought it was crazy. But would you, if you were the Jets, and it's a little far-fetched, give up your first-round pick this year and possibly some more stuff in a package and maybe get a pick back for Kyle Shanahan if that was on the table? Would you give up the 7th overall pick and maybe a swap in the 2nd or 3rd round for a Kyle Shanahan? And for the record, the Broncos gave up the 29th pick, and then they swapped the 2nd and a 3rd with the Saints for Sean Payton, and it's worked out pretty good.
I don't think Kyle Shanahan will last in New York. I'm sorry. I don't think he would. He already, look at his shit face he has when he has all that talent in San Francisco. Imagine he goes on a 3-game losing streak here. He's got 9,000 reporters like this in his face. I don't think it'll work. Mike Tomlin, I would love that for the Jets. That would be a home run splash. There's no way they trade him in the AFC.
Well, I'll say this about Shanahan. Are you getting John Lynch also? Like, that is a huge factor to their success. Like, I think he's the most underrated front office person in the sport.
Their books are looking a little scary right now. Their salary cap's getting scary, though.
Now, I mean, they did go, but he's been very good.
That's true, 100%.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And, and there is a bias there. 2 people attached to the Broncos at one point. But, I mean, listen, if Tomlin, I would give up first-round pick for him right now, and I got Sean Payton as my coach. So that tells you how much I love him. So, I don't know. I love that idea. Also, real quick before we move on, I actually think that, is it possible Brian Flores and certain guys understand that there's jobs next year? They're in good spots. There's jobs next year that are more enticing. Like, let's be honest. We're in New York. Who would you rather work for? John Mara or Woody Johnson?
John Mara.
Yeah.
All day.
You think Brian Flores, New York guy, he's like, well, if they mess up and they might have a quarterback and or Travis Hunter, like, I could just go there next year and work for a more competent franchise and still be home.
That's a great segue to what I wanted to get to. You mentioned the Giants. The Giants hold the number 3 pick in this upcoming draft. Now, when they had the number 1 pick, I threw it out there a couple weeks ago that if you don't believe in Shador, you don't believe in Cam Ward, then you have to take the unicorn and Travis Hunter. He is the best player in this draft. I don't want to hear about this guy from Penn State. I don't want to hear none of this shit. Travis Hunter is the elite of the elite. He's the Shohei Ohtani of college football. So now the Giants sitting at 3. I think it's perfect for them because I think the first 2 spots, unless Dion, throws himself in the mix and says, my kid's not going there, which is a huge possibility, then the Giants sitting at 3, if they have Travis Hunter sitting there and they pass on him, they will regret that forever.
Including if they traded down to say like 8 or 9 and got Will Campbell or something like that. Like, would that be at least close enough?
You got to take this is a unicorn, bro. First of all, your secondary sucks. Your corners suck. Deontay Banks is a cone. The year before he acted like he was Deion Sanders. This year he was more like whatever Sanders. He sucked. And I loved every minute of it because he trolled my team his rookie season. But Travis Hunter, he's going to play both sides of the ball. Not to the extent he did in college where he played like 84% of the snaps. He can play some wide receiver with neighbors. He's going to play corner. You get your lockdown corner for the next decade. And then he can play some wide receiver in the red zone and stuff. He is a camp. I'm telling you, the Giants, I hope the Giants don't get him. I hope they don't. I hope, I heard a caller say that Joe Shane's going down to the Orange Bowl to look at Drew Aller. Good. I hope you reach it. I hope you take him. Please do me a favor and take him. But if they take Travis Hunter, it'd be great for the franchise. It would pay me being in the same division as them.
Yeah, if they can't get one of the 2 quarterbacks who I am very high on. I wanted the Broncos. I didn't want Bo Nix. Like, I think you guys all know this. I'm very happy with how it's turned out. I wanted to suck for Sanders. Like, that's what I've wanted. I think he's a stud. I think he wants New York. I think he's got the mental capacity to handle New York.
So do I.
And I think that he's very underrated. Everyone talks about his tape isn't great. He played behind in all the power conferences, outside of maybe a Purdue or like a Vandy or something like that, had the worst offensive line, did not have great coaching around him, and excelled. And everyone's like, oh, we had Travis Hunter. Well, it's much more than just one guy that you have to throw the ball to. But I do agree with you, Al. If they're at 3, you got to take Travis Hunter because regardless of what happens that next year, If they succeed, awesome. If they suck and they have to rebuild, you now start with the best wide receiver room if they decide to play him at wide out in the league, maybe. And if not, you finally get a cornerback who you desperately need. That Giants defense, they have one of the worst secondaries in the league. They really need a corner. So that benefits you either way you decide to go with him.
Now, real quick, sorry, Pete, real quick. The other thing you mentioned, because I had a caller say the same thing. Well, yeah, Travis Hunter, the best player in the country. So I read all the stats of the other wide receivers. Not bad at all. Go look at the receivers. They went from 4 wins to 9 wins with a shit offensive line. You talk about a leader and elevating a team. I think Shador did that.
Yeah.
He's an ultra competitor. He is such a competitor. And if you don't see that, you are letting a Dion weird thing blind you. I don't know what it is where some people, it's like, we all love Dion like a ton. He gets all this press and now it's a little too much press for you. So you hate him and you think him and his kids can't compete in the spotlight. They were born in the spotlight. They're bred for the spotlight. Literally prime time is their nickname. Like Shador Sanders is an ultimate competitor, and Giants fans who are so anti him, most of them, let's be real, haven't watched him that much.
Fair.
Let's just be real about it.
Facts.
Right? How many people were sitting down, because we know how college football goes on the East Coast. There's not a ton of hardcore college football people out here. They're watching First Take and they're listening to BS and hearing, oh, maybe is Shador overrated? Yeah, you know what? He is. And there's going to be a circus in New York if Dion's there overlooking him. No, it's not.
He's got a 9 to 5. He's got a 24/7 job.
Exactly. Dion's got plenty of stuff to worry about. Yeah, he's going to probably watch every second of every Giants thing he could watch and probably tweet about it or talk about it in his press conference. It's all good. The Giants could handle that. They should have the infrastructure to handle that.
The only thing real quick I'll say is that, because I know Gal's got to go soon, so I want to hit all the topics as fast as possible. With Shador Sanders, he went to what was the college? Florida Atlantic, won there. Then he goes to Colorado, 4 wins. They will pick to finish 12th in the conference.
Jackson State.
Jackson State, that's it. My bad. Jackson State, won there. Goes to Colorado, goes from 4 wins to 9 wins. The other thing I will say is he's being judged off that game versus BYU. Now, BYU plays a complex defense. Their defense is sophisticated. You could even see he looked confused. He was so jacked up for that game. But for them to put that much negativity on his one game when he was sensational most of the season, most of his college career, is complete BS. Meanwhile, Cam Ward, there was 31-28 at the half, bro. Nobody played defense in that first half.
Well, he didn't face a good defense all year. I'm not trying to. I like Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is an NFL quarterback, but he also, the criticisms are not consistent because Cam Ward played in a weak conference. I don't care about the ACC. It's a weak conference. It's the reason why Syracuse's McCord looks so good. It's just they're not playing a lot of defenses. This guy was playing big defenses every week, and that BYU defense is one of the best pass defenses in the league or in the country.
Yep.
And real quick, Al, before we move on, as the only Giants fan here on this show, I feel obligated to say this one thing. I'm not as much worried about drafting Travis Hunter or not, because I think Travis Hunter will be a great pick no matter what. And I'm hyped that we're most likely going to have him. What I'm worried about is this weird, unserious disconnect that's going on between Mara and Shane and Dable. Because how in the world can you say you have a playoff mandate when this is the roster you still have? How can you tell your GM and coach that you have to win right now when you don't have a quarterback yet and you're not in the right draft spot to get one right now? And even if you drafted Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, playoffs would be a very lofty expectation in the division that they're in. So clearly playoff mandate is probably just like a buzzword quote, and it would be a little more contextual as the season went on, like them being competitive or not. But for me, I'm most worried that Dable and Shane are going to act like a little bit of desperation mode, a little bit of we have to do everything to win right here, right now. And they're going to end up winning 5 games next year, not looking good enough, getting canned, and still not being in spot to pick a quarterback next year and kind of doing the same old circus again next year.
Let me say this before we move on to the Knicks. 2 years in a row, I said the easiest money, take the Giants in the under. Well, guess what? The third year in a row, take the Giants in the under. And the whole playoff mandate, I honestly think that's more towards Daboll than Shane. But we'll see how that works out. I'm glad I'm not a Giant fan. Hallelujah, Jaden Daniels. Now on to the Knicks and Tibbs, and he's getting criticized for all the minutes. And here we go again, blah, 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 blah. This team is not like every other NBA team. Now, it bothers me when yesterday we're up 20 with 4 minutes left to go. At that point, take everybody out.
Yeah.
I understand people saying that. But these guys want to play these minutes. This is what makes the Knicks the Knicks. This is what makes this group this group. But you have to be careful late in these games. That's what I think Tibbs needs to adjust. Take the guys out when you have such a big lead late in the game. Thoughts?
Well, I agree on that. I'm not really worried about the minutes. I've said it a lot on the fan. A lot of their injuries last year were contact injuries that, like, Randall fell on his shoulder. Brunson, both his injuries were not because he was playing too much, like the foot injury and then the hand injury. OG had the injury before he got here. So if you want to cherry pick that one, cool. Who had Mitchell Robinson get put in ankle lock in the middle of the playoffs? That's not Tibbs' fault. Like Josh Hart got hit in the stomach or the whatever it was. Like, that's not Tibbs' fault. So I'm not going to sit here and Christian Winfield is awesome. This is not a criticism of Christian Winfield. His article came out that, the Magic knew they had to wear the Knicks down. So now all of a sudden that's the MO. Well, where's that MO been for the last 3 years? It hasn't been there. They have games where they haven't shot the ball either well or enough. And I think that's what's cost them. I think the defense is underrated, and I think the offense is awesome. Like, I am not worried. I will say this. I like this conversation. It means people care, and we haven't played with expectations in forever. And this is what happens. You overanalyze everything. So I'm okay with it, even if I disagree with it.
I think there's two things that are true here. One is what you just explained, Gallo and Al, about the minutes not really being a big problem. But the problem is not finding out who you can trust on that bench. That, to me, is what bugs me. It's not that OG's playing 40 minutes, which he's the only guy I truly worry about from a health standpoint because of the whole history. It's not that they're playing 40 minutes. It's that the other guys aren't getting any chances. And I'm happy that Shamet at least is entering some sort of trust circle with Tom Thibodeau. Like, he's giving Shamet a chance, and he's not even shooting the ball well yet. Like, if he goes to his career numbers, which is like 36%, we're going to all start falling in love with Landry Shamet because he plays super hard and he plays super fast. Kolek, if you want to say him, if you want to say Precious, if you want to say, I think we're all done with the Huck Purdy thing for now, at least. But any of these guys who you might need in these moments, because Miles McBride has been out, or if campaign goes down, there needs to be a trust factor with these guys that's impossible to build with the workload. And if the starting lineup is as good as we all know it is, they should be able to withstand 10 minutes of Tyler Kolek a couple times a week, right? Like, that's the problem to me. It's not that the other guys are playing 2 minutes. It's that the bench dudes aren't getting a chance to earn any trust, to earn any consistency. And that's what I think will bite them in the butt more likely, is that if someone does get hurt, whether it's fatigue related or contact related, that Tibbs doesn't know who he can trust because he doesn't give him a chance.
I think the big loss is McBride not being able to play. I think that just fucks everything up with the bench. Who he can trust. He trusts McBride. We see McBride do it in the playoffs. McBride's a dog and a grinder. You can rely on him for minutes. That's a huge loss. The other thing I will say is Mitchell Robinson's going to be welcomed back with open arms. I mean, with open arms. And hopefully he excels and he stays healthy. Keeps Cat out of foul trouble. He leads the league in fouls, which is amazing because considering all the numbers he's putting up, it's nuts what he's doing right now. And he's going to be an all-star, starting all-star. Shout out to him. Shout out to the big. Yeah, I said the same thing. Top 5 MVP candidate right now. Shout out to the big bodega. But to me, this Knicks team cannot be judged until everyone's together. And let's not forget the same thing I said about the Mets opening day is not tomorrow, and you have the trade deadline. We start the trade deadline in the NBA, and there will be shooters available. There will be defensive guys available. There'll be key bench pieces available as well.
And also something we're not used to as Knicks fans, but they're going to have a pick of the litter when it comes to the buyout market. Like, we've never had it where last year a little bit where that best guy who's on the buyout market is going to want to go to the Knicks. Why? Because they give him a chance to win a ring. And I agree with both of you guys said, especially Pete. I'm actually not done. Forgive me if I butcher this because I do it a lot. But Huck Purdy, like, I actually think he's got some talent. I also would like to see more Shamet. And even when they're fully healthy, it's okay if Campaign plays 25 minutes a game, not a game, but in a game, to let Brunson get a breather. This guy has an NBA title. Like, he's played in multiple playoff runs. And we forget, after Tyrese Maxey, who hit more big shots against the Knicks last year in the playoff campaign. And he's got, I'll say this much, he's built for New York. He's not afraid of anything.
100%.
He's a vet. I think he should get more burn just to alleviate, Brunson and Hart. And I agree with the fact that they do need to let these guys, one, not just trust them, but also give them minutes so they're confident. But I'm not worried as far as an injury-wise. I'd say it's more along what you said, Pete, where, like, they're not trusting their bench enough unless he's already written off that once they get Mitch back, Campaign and Shamet are the only guys who are going to see the court that aren't already entrenched in the rotation.
Well, McBride as well. And
I consider him in the rotation.
And I think, listen, I think I think Tris Tip.
Keep digging. You'll thank me one day.
Listen, Tibbs trust Preston Chua as well. I like what I see from him off the bench, get more minutes as well. But Mitchell Robinson's going to be a welcome addition to this team when he gets back. And then we can see what happens at the deadline and go from there. Now, NFL playoffs this weekend. 2 of us have playoff teams. 1 doesn't. Sorry, Pete. We're going to start with the first game, which is, I believe, it's the Texans in their usual spot versus the Chargers. The spread is 3.5. Has it changed, Heck? If it's still 3.5, it's still 3.5? All right. So I'm going to go first. I'm taking the Chargers minus 3.5. They've exceeded my expectations year 1 with Jim Harbaugh, but that's what I'm rolling with game 1.
Wait, I'm sorry, Al. I think it actually has changed. It's just 3 now. Minus 3.
It's just 3.
Yeah.
All right, even better because the half won't screw me. So it's minus 3, right? So I'll take the Chargers minus 3 and the Chargers to win. Minus 3.
Listen, if you know me, I have biases. I think Justin Herbert is a good quarterback. He's not the elite quarterback everyone makes it out to be. I do think this team is vastly different than they've been in the past. I like this game to be close. I do think the Chargers have to win. I like it to be close. I'm going to pick the Texans and the points because I have a bias here. So I just want to be honest. But I do think when it comes down to it, this game will be J.K. Dobbins is the most underrated player in probably the AFC. I don't want to say the league, but probably the AFC. When he was out those few weeks, the Chargers really struggled. He's there, and they are going to rely on him, which means they're not going to put up a ton of points, and they might not have to put up a ton of points. But I do think the Texans are talented enough to keep it close. I think they could beat them, but it's tough for me to pick against that defense, a quarterback who hasn't turned the ball over, even if I can't stand him, and a running back who wouldn't have won comeback player of the year, but if he had stayed healthy, would have been one of the 4 vote getters for comeback player of the year. And Harbaugh has been an amazing coach this year. So I'm going with the Texans and the points, but I do think the Chargers win the game.
Now, on the contrary, we've been doing a lot of agreeing on this podcast, Gallo. You just gave me a great shout for my take on the last segment here, but I got to tell you what, I think Justin Herbert's elite. I'm tired of people trying to do this weird social media quarterback thing. I never got that. It never made sense to me. This guy is as tough as they come, playing through any single injury that he'll deal with, and he delivers the ball where it needs to be delivered. Does he have
especially in the check down?
See, but Gallows made it clear he's got a bias. We understand that. He's kept it a buck.
Well, I'm keeping it a buck too. I got a bias. I think Justin Herbert's really good. So I'm riding with that too. So Justin Herbert is a dog to me, and he's running out there with pretty much nobody wide receivers and Lab McConkey, who's a rookie and still putting up numbers. They played very conservative offense in the beginning of the season. You saw them get more and more comfortable passing the ball. I think that's going to prove out. I think the Chargers of any of the non-big 3 AFC teams are most poised to do something here, like when it comes to a splash factor. And I think it starts with this game against the Texans. I actually think it's not going to be quite a rout because I think CJ Stroud has too much talent to get blown out and blown away. But I think the Chargers kind of win this one comfortably. I'm liking the Chargers minus 3.
I agree with you on that because the loss of Diggs and Dell, that is huge.
Adding up.
Huge. And the offensive line is not that good versus that defense. Awful. So I agree with you. I think the Chargers win comfortably. Game number 2. Put up the graphic, Heck. Put up the graph. Game number 2 is, what are we looking at? Steelers, Ravens. Now the spread was 9.5. Is it still 9.5? Okay, even without Zay Flowers. Wow. I put it out on Twitter, so I'm going to stick by it. This is a knock 'em dead, let's take each other's heads off and sleep with each other's mamas type of game. So I'm taking the Steelers with the points, plus 9.5. I don't think the Steelers win the game, but I think it's a 1-score game because of Tomlin's going to have him ready for the playoffs, going to have him ready for this game, and it's a rivalry. So I'm taking the Steelers plus 9.5.
I think that this is Lamar's year. If the Chiefs don't repeat, this is the team I like the most after them. And I think that this Steelers team, although good, I think they overachieved for a lot of the season. And we saw at the end of the year, it caught up to them. And I think everyone's caught up in this Lamar struggles with the Steelers thing. Lamar struggles in the playoffs. I do not think if he's going to struggle, this is the game. I think I am not a Russ hater. You would think I would be. I think Russ is fine. I don't think he's going to be able to keep up points-wise with Lamar and the fact that they do have Derrick Henry still. Like, he will wear them down enough to allow Lamar to do what he wants. And that defense on the run is very good. They struggle in the secondary at times, but that Ravens defense is a good run defense. So they're going to have to air it out, and I don't think the Steelers can do that.
Well, we all know Najee Harris ain't breaking any tackles. He's just going to run right into the line, 1.5 yards a carry, somehow still get to 1,000 yards in a season, and nobody cares because he ruined all of our fantasy seasons. Anyways, I digress.
Wow. Talk about a bias, huh?
I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm just saying. Najee Harris.
Someone's butthurt on fantasy football.
That 3.2 yards a carry is killing him.
Oh,
Bro, I'm just saying, guy gets 1,000 yards a year. None of it's been impressive. Not one time.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
It's ridiculous. But you know what else hasn't been impressive is this lauded Steelers defense. I mean, we know how good they were for most of this season, but let me read you what this great defense has given up over the last couple weeks against the best of the best. In week 15, they gave up 27 to the Eagles. Week 16, 34 to the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore, 29 to the Chiefs. And then, they played a little bit tighter against Cincinnati and only gave up 19. But they're coming in on a 4-game losing streak. We can talk Tomlin all we want, but at the end of the day, when was the last time we were talking about Tomlin in playoff time? We haven't been. And we thought with the mediocre to decent play from Russell Wilson that that's all Tomlin needed to get over the hump. That's what he needed to get over this regular season hump. He hasn't proved enough yet to be playoff ready, to be more high octane ready. And who knows what's going to happen with George Pickens in this game. They're going to try to chip him up and get under his skin, which is not hard to do, even though he's incredibly talented. But the Ravens are for real. Their offense is as good. Actually, I'll just say this. It's the best offense they've had with Lamar Jackson at the helm, and it's not particularly close,
it's the best
even without Zay
franchise history.
Right. Facts. Exactly. And I think the spread tells you everything. Even some spots, Al, I'm seeing it's still 10. So with Zay Flowers going down here, Vegas ain't worried.
It
and
hasn't
neither am
moved.
I. I'll take the Ravens in a rout against the Steelers.
Let me be perfectly clear. Before the season, my prediction was Ravens over the Lions in the Super Bowl. Both my teams are still in it. When it comes to my prediction, I'm going to stick by that. I love Lamar. Everybody knows I love Lamar, especially Ray in Brooklyn. He can't stand the fact that I love Lamar Jackson. He loves Josh Allen. Ray, you're a loyal caller, loyal listener, but bro, go look at the numbers. Lamar is making history. This is Lamar's third MVP. But let's keep it a buck. The same way I say about Aaron Judge, MVPs are empty if you don't win a World Series. Lamar's MVPs are empty if he don't get it done. And if he's ever going to get it done, this is the year he has to get it done. Now, the first game Sunday, I believe, is Eagles-Packers, correct?
No, it's Broncos.
Broncos.
1:00.
Gallo, you're the Broncos fan. I'll let you go first.
Listen, I'm very excited. They're very relevant. I've had a chance to finally enjoy this. Al's killed me all year because I haven't really fully bought in. I'm all in. Do not get ahead of yourselves. I'm not going to do something stupid here. I understand the talent deficiency on this team. The thing that scares me, I actually think they cover. This spread screams backdoor cover. I think the weather's going to hold up, so it doesn't seem like it's going to snow bad. I'm just afraid the Broncos will not be able to control the pace of the game. I do think that Bills offensive line is good enough with the mobility of the quarterback to stifle that vaunted pass rush, the best pass rush in the league. And the Broncos have a good secondary, but we've seen, look at Joe Burrow did. I know guys are banged up there. I think they cover on the back door. I don't think they win. And I don't think at any point the Bills are going to fear that they're like, it's never going to feel like the Bills aren't in control. Like a backdoor cover, because the Broncos can throw the ball. They have no run game. They can't control the pace. I was praying it didn't snow because at least there's a glimmer of hope. Because if the game was decided on the ground, they'd be in trouble. I'm taking the Broncos with the points, but I do think
the spread? Is it still 9.5?
It's 8.5 right now.
8.5.
My chart has 8.5. 47.5 is the over, which for me does not bode well either for the Broncos because this Bills team could put up a lot of points. Granted, they haven't played a great defense outside of a couple times this year, but I do think they are going to have their way with the Broncos.
I need to write these picks down. So heck, backstage, if you could do me a solid and write them down so we can clown each other next episode. I'm taking the Broncos with the points, 8.5. I had them at 9.5. I'm taking the 8.5. They moved the game from Los Angeles to Arizona. It's about damn time they did that. That'll be the last game we get to. Shout out to the people in Los Angeles, man. Hope everything is. I mean, it's just crazy. It looks like it just looks straight out of a movie. But I'm taking the Broncos with the 8.5. Bo Nix, thank you for shutting me up. I thought it was a complete reach, and you shut me up. So I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. I was wrong about Bo Nix. You got yourself a mobile Drew Brees, Gallo. I'm telling you right now. That's what you got. A mobile Drew Brees. I hated him at Auburn. I thought he sucked. In Oregon, I was like, he's got a pro team in Oregon. I'm skeptical of quarterbacks like that, but man, he's proven me wrong. So shout out to your Broncos. You have your franchise quarterback. You just need a running back. But I'm taking the Broncos with the points.
Well, Gallo, I'm sorry to do this to you.
Uh-oh.
Not because I'm taking the Bills, because if all three of us are on the Broncos plus the points, it might be ugly. Because all three of us are going Broncos and the points here. I agree with all you guys. I mean, so we're all together here on Broncos, +8, +8.5, +9, +9.5, whatever you're finding.
Yeah.
This spread is kind of all over the place across the different sports books. And that's kind of interesting to me too. The backdoor makes sense, but also an important factor to me, unlike the Steelers, I kind of feel like the Broncos got nothing to lose. Whereas the Steelers they're not some like upstart, nobody knows them team. The Broncos, not that they're just happy to be here, but they're going to play with some spunk. They're going to play with Sean Payton saying we're not expected to win. Let's go shock the world. We got nothing to lose. And I think that's where you want to be as a Broncos team. I think Josh Allen's heroics will, take over if need be, but I do like the points here in this matchup.
Yeah.
And real quick, before we go any further, hit the likes, hit the subscribe button. This is the first episode. Subscribe button. Even add an S to that. What the fuck am I doing? Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. It's the first episode, and I hope you guys ride with us through this journey. I'm looking forward to this journey with you guys. I handpicked you guys. You guys wanted to be down with this, and I'm thankful for you guys to join me for this as well. So I appreciate you. The fourth game, is it Eagles, right? Eagles.
Yes.
Yeah, Eagles and the Packers. What's the spread on that? Because I've seen it all over the place as well.
Seeing 5, 4, or 4.5.
I'm seeing
5. All right. So we'll go with 4.5. Shit. I want to take Green Bay in the worst way. I really do. Because I fucking hate the Eagles. I hate the Philly Eagles. I hate the Philly fans. I hate the Philly Phillies. I hate the Philadelphia Philly Bell. I hate all of it. Fuck Philadelphia. But I know AJ Brown's dealing with a knee injury. It doesn't matter. Christian Watson's out for them. Jordan Love, I know he hasn't turned the ball over in 7 games. This is the time he starts turning it over in a raucous atmosphere, a crazy atmosphere. I'm rooting for the Packers, but I think the Eagles get it done.
I actually think the Packers win this game. I think that we saw them, what was it, week 2? Or was it week 1 in Brazil? And Jordan Love got hurt. I know it's the beginning of the year. You cannot take that. I think the Packers team, which I did not believe in at all, is so good. And they're so well coached. It has nothing to do with the quarterback. The quarterback's good. But my belief in them is just they are an overall really good team. This Eagles team is so talented. If I didn't feel like, Hurts a little banged up, you talked about Brown. If I didn't feel like they were banged up or not 100%, maybe I would pick the other way. I like this Green Bay team. Like you said, they really don't have anything to lose because, yes, they were so good all year, but who really expected them to be like, at least I didn't, to be this good? I know that they're a low seed, but their record tells you differently. And
so do their Super Bowl odds. If you saw the number, it's right up there. Yeah.
Yeah. And this Eagles team, maybe it's the fans, because I'm all in on the Eagles. Like I'm not an NFC East fan, so I like this Eagles team. But maybe it's their fans have gotten to my brain. There's just something off, and I feel like this Packers team is well coached. They have a great defense. They're balanced on offense. Like all the important positions, even quarterback is good. All the important positions outside of quarterback, they are very good, if not elite at. So I like them here. I like them money line. So I'll obviously take the points for the sake of the picks to save myself 4.5. But I like them on the money line. I think they win this game.
Unfortunately, as I mentioned, I'm the Giants fan in this chat right now, but I like the Eagles this year, and I kind of think they are my Super Bowl pick at this point in time. Obviously, that's a little bit dependent on health and Hurts playing or not, but we're assuming Jalen Hurts is going to play. And I feel blasphemous saying it, but this defense is just built different. This defense is really freaking good. They're playing the best ball of anyone in the league on the defensive side of the ball here. And you got to give some credence here to Saquon Barkley and this run game and this offensive line. You hear people talk about the trenches all the time. The Eagles are the best on both sides of the trenches. And in the playoffs, as it gets colder, as it gets a little bit more frisky, as experience comes into play, I'm betting on that. I'm betting on the trenches, and I'm betting on players like Saquon Barkley doing something special. I also think we're very quick to kind of jump to that Jalen Hurts criticism. He was incredible in the playoffs 2 years ago when they made that Super Bowl run, and it's easy to forget about that. And I know they've been up and down offensively this year, but I think the Eagles are just the best all-around team right now. Not that I'm saying they should be the favorite or anything like that, but I think they kick off the playoffs right with a nice, strong win against a good Green Bay Packers team, who I also kind of didn't like coming into the season. So hopefully that's not just my bias.
I'll say this when it comes to the Eagles: if you're gonna get them, this is the game to get them. Jalen Hurts takes one bad hit, and I don't root for injury, but he bangs his head hard against that grass. He's done. This is the time to get him. So if you're gonna knock him out, this will be the time to do it. I didn't want them in the first round. We'll get to my team in a second. I didn't want him in the first round. I didn't want to go to Philly and deal with that nonsense and that crowd, even though I trust my quarterback and my team. But like you said, to me, this is going to be a heavy Saquon Barkley game. And then you see Hurts pick and choose his spots because they cannot afford to lose him for these playoffs. So that's why I took the Eagles. It's 4.5, right? So we're sticking with 4.5?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do the Monday game real quick. I'm going to say mine for last. What's the spread in Rams-Vikings?
It's 1 right now. -1 Vikings.
Oof. I'm gonna root for shit.
You gonna root or you gonna pick? What are you doing? You rooting or you picking?
I'm picking the Rams to win, considering they what's going on in Los Angeles. This is a soft spot for me. I'm gonna root for the Rams. I know the Vikings, they played well all season long, but I think last week the blitz, Sam Darnold couldn't handle it, and the Rams defense is one of the best in the game. They got a lot of young pups on them. And I think Sam Darnold was exposed last week by in his way he couldn't handle the defense. So I'm taking the Rams to win this game to win outright.
Well, first off, shout out to my boy Ray, who's going to be disappointed with my picks. He's out in SoCal right now, so he's doing good. But shout out to him. I know it's crazy out there. I like this Vikings team, similar to the Packers. I feel like the Vikings roster is deficient on paper. Like you look at it, it's deficient on paper. I like what they've done. They're coached up. The Rams team, I know everyone thinks that they just got it clicking now. I feel like they played in a division that we thought was a lot better than it actually was.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Their schedule wasn't that daunting. And I feel like this Vikings team has proven a lot. And what Sam Darnold did against the Lions is not affecting how I feel about them because I've been middle of the road with Sam Darnold all year. It's the rest of the team, the talent. And just like the Rams, that Vikings offense has a lot of great skill players. Like that might be the best wide receiver tandem in the league, better than the guys they're playing against who are also great. So I like the Vikings. I mean, it's a pick 'em. So I'm taking the Vikings to win this game.
The one thing I will say about the Vikings, the receivers didn't do Sam Darnold any favors versus the Lions. They did not get open. So Sam was flustered. He missed some open throws, yes, but they didn't do him any favors. They didn't help him out. So I've rooted for Sam all year. I love comeback stories, just like I love Baker Mayfield's comeback story. But I'm taking the Rams -1 because what's going on in LA. I'm keeping it a buck. That's why I took the Rams. Now, the final game. Speaking of Baker Mayfield,
hold up. I didn't get my pick off. Let me.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. So this one's tough because these are two soft spot teams for me. I'm rooting for Sam and Justin Jefferson. I love watching the Vikings play. I also have a super soft spot for Matt Stafford. Like I root for that dude like crazy. I mean, when they won that Super Bowl, I was like cheering almost as if I was a Rams fan. I was just
like Dan Orlovsky, huh? You got a soft spot like Dan Orlovsky does for Matt Stafford.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, because I saw him in Detroit all those years, me standing for him, all my friends calling him Stat Padford. I'm like, I get it. He hasn't done anything. It's hard for me to argue, but I knew he was an elite quarterback, and he's proven that over time. So the Vikings blitz like out of control, right? We know Flores, what he does on defense, and their defense is strong. The Rams really struggled running the ball this year. Bottom 2 in yards per attempt rushing the ball. And if they can get some pressure on Matt Stafford, that offense has not been as good as we all perceive it to be in our heads. I think they're middle of the pack in the league in offense, and their defense did a lot more work than we want to give him credit for because we know Stafford, we know Puka Nacua, we know Kyron Williams was scoring touchdowns, cashing bets all year. Like,
yes, sir.
Those things make us feel fond of the offense, but in reality, their offense just wasn't as strong. So I'm picking the Vikings, but I'm as a fan, I'm happy just to watch this game and enjoy it and root for LA a little bit for that same manner as you, Al, but I'm picking the Vikings.
All right, and the final game, because I know Gallo's got to go. The final game I'm saving for last, I should say, is my Commanders, my 12-win Commanders. If you listen to me on the radio station before the season, I told you the easiest money you make was taking the Commanders in the over, and when I went through the schedule, I saw 12 wins, and guess what? They got 12 wins this year. It's -3, correct? It's still -3, the Bucks?
Yeah.
Bucks -3 in Tampa. We started the season versus Tampa where everything looked vanilla, the offense, I should say. It was Jaden Daniels' first game. He did show flashes in that game. But guess what? There's no more vanilla. We're not ending the season there. We started the season there. The season we move on from Tampa. I'm taking Washington, not because of my fandom. I trust this team to get it done. I'm taking Washington to win the game in Tampa versus the Buccaneers.
Oh, I like Washington. I think this Bucs team is the worst team in the playoffs. And the other team that I would put after them is my Broncos, and they got smoked by the Broncos at home when they were not clicking offensively. The Bucs are they're a fun story. I think that they are benefiting from playing in the worst division in the sport, or maybe second worst division. AFC South is pretty bad too. But I think Baker's been great. I don't think that he's going to lead them to a win. And as far as great as their wide receivers are, it's a very deceptive number, that 1,000 yards that Mike Evans got and everybody's hung up on. He needed 17 games to get there. I just feel like Washington's defense has been a lot better than people.
Lattimore's back. Lattimore's back this week as well. And you know the battles they've had when it was St. Tampa.
Right. And Lattimore is just as good as a Pat Surtain. He's one of, if not the best corner in the league. I think that defensively they're underrated. I think offensively they don't have a lot of guys that names pop out at you. Yes, the rookie quarterback. They've been one of the most fun offenses to watch, and that usually means that you have a great offense if you're fun to watch. I think they're balanced. I think the coaches done a great job. And
hell of a job.
This is more just looking at I think the Bucs overachieved this year, and they're just not as good as the rest of the pack. And I like Washington to win. I definitely love them to cover. I like them to win the game, and I'm going Washington with the points.
This is the highest over-under by 3 points for week 1 of the playoffs here. It's 50.5 on the over-under. It's massive, and there's going to be points. I mean, the Buccaneers net out as a top 2 yards per attempt on the ground, top 6 yards per attempt in the air. The Commanders are not far behind. I mean, they're more mid-pack on yards per attempt in the air, but they're a top offense, obviously, with Jaden Daniels adds all around. It doesn't usually jive here with having a high total and a small spread cover, but I think this is close. I think it goes down to the wire. The Commanders have had a little bit of a flair for the dramatic here in this season, and I think this one's going to stay close. I don't love the Commanders' money line, but I think this one's coming down to a final possession, which makes me feel like I have to take Washington +3. So it's the second trifecta where we're all three on the same side. And hopefully for you, Al, well, actually both of your teams. It's like we're biased for your team and Gallo's team here. Picking those sides the same. But I like Washington +3.
Listen, I have a long day Sunday. I'm on the fan midnight to 4. Then I go rest of the hotel. Then I work 7 to 3. Oh, you are? Cool. So I'll see you Sunday. Then I'm at the hotel from 7 to 3. Then I trek to get some rest. And then hopefully I'm going to drink 2-3 cups of coffee to watch my Commanders. I hope my heart's not broken. But at the end of the day, I was expecting I said the total and stuff, but this has been a fantastic ride. And it's just year one. So, and we have 120 million in cap space. Adam Peters from the 49ers. You talk about John Lynch. We got Adam Peters from the Niners who's built this year one. And I'm looking forward to what the future holds. So before we go, Super Bowl picks. I said Ravens, Lions. I'm sticking by it. I have the Ravens win the Super Bowl. Gallo, you go first.
This is Stockholm Syndrome. I have Chiefs, Lions. Chiefs are going to win again. Uninteresting. Parity is dead in the NFL, and we're all just under Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, man. The AFC feels like it has to be one of the three, right? Chiefs, Ravens, or Bills. I'm going Ravens too, Al. I think the Ravens is the year they get over the hump, and all this Lamar question mark playoff stuff goes out the window. Me too, obviously there. I think he puts that to rest. Hopefully Zay comes back next week after they win this week, and that looks good. I'm going Ravens, Eagles. It is going to be
all birds.
East Coast, all birds. I mean, I don't know the rivalry there as much with Eagles.
There'll be a lot of fights in the stands. I'll tell you that.
There's got to be some juice between those two fan bases. I'll tell you what. And down in New Orleans, it'll be an epic atmosphere. I'm going Ravens over the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
All right, so we both have the Ravens. Gallo has the Chiefs. Listen, I like history as well. If it's not the Ravens, fuck it. The Chiefs go 3-peat, and we get to see another dynasty take place, and hopefully that's the last of it.
I will say this. I'm going to give you a take here. I don't think the Broncos win. If they win, look out. Because Vance Joseph has Patrick Mahomes' number.
Woo! Look at that. You saw Gallo pulled up on that one.
I'll say one more thing. This is going to be pitiful. I don't care if the Broncos get blown out, but if they lose on a heartbreaker like they did against the Bengals or the Chiefs this year, that'll suck. If you're going to lose, put me down gently and just let me enjoy the season. I can turn it off at halftime and already start.
No, come on, Gallo. No, bro, you come this far. You want 4 quarters. You don't want to have a great season, unexpected, then get blown out. No, bro. I've been arguing with you all year about this, bro. Close game. Let's go.
100%. Close game. Get your heart ripped out.
Yeah, well, I already know what's happening. Broncos going to come down to it on the goal line. They need a touchdown, and Von Miller sacks Bo Nix.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, that's horrible. You just put in the universe.
So listen, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. It's episode 1. I know, Gallo, you got shit you got to take care of, so I appreciate you staying a little longer than you said you were going to stay. Pete, as always, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. You know that. This is episode 1. We will come up with a certain day and a certain time. We'll let you guys know later on, sometime next week. But until then, hug your loved ones. Al Cintron, for Anthony Gallo and Pete Kennedy, we out.
Wash your ass.